What is up, guys, and welcome back to OWL by the Numbers, keeping you updated and in the know for all things Fantasy Overwatch League. I am your host, Totally Drunk, and tonight on episode 48, it is another heavy week of player movement. Due to retirements, we got some new 14-day contracts, and, one team in particular kind of like calling in some mercenaries. So we'll get you guys caught up on all the latest on that front and let you know what sort of stock they will have fantasy value wise on their new teams. And of course, we do have the May Melee tournament coming up this weekend, which is sure to probably cause a couple of issues. Primarily more so on daily, more so than some of the other foul subgenres. Probably the best way to put it. But anyways, before I introduce you to my co-host, let me just quickly take a moment to thank everyone who is joining us tonight on Twitch for our live show, and of course, thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So joining me tonight, we do have a three-man crew tonight back with us. After a 1 week hiatus, it is Big Head Ed, who is hot off the heels of his birthday and a really strange night of drunken Disney watching slash biodub. So Ed, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. That was a lot of fun. I will say that I am not gonna sugarcoat it. I had to take the next day off. Like I literally did nothing the next day.
Good thing it was a Sunday.
Right? Like it was a shit show and a half.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved every second of it. Because not only did we watch a Goofy movie, we watched Biodome.
Not a fan.
And how are you not a fan?
I've never been a Pauly Shore fan in anything. I know, I just don't find him funny.
Then something's wrong with you.
No, he's like Carrot
You've never
Top.
seen Encino Man?
It's the same type of comedy act.
But at least Pauly Shore at least has like a natural humor to him. Carrot Top's like, here, let's just think I'm gonna go smash, and it just hits it.
Yeah, dude, you're on. I'm not.
You
just never been a
slander
fan.
the man who made Encino Man. Total.
And son-in-law?
I don't know if I can do that son-in-law, but
What? In the
I haven't seen this,
now?
so I can't tell you. Like that's just
Jury duty? He did a movie based on him fake dying where he went around and interviewed B celebrities and asked them how they felt about Pauly Shore dying.
And they were probably good riddance.
I think if I remember them were.
There you go. See, I'm not alone.
I mean, I learned this weekend that, you know what, Fantasy Overwatch League may be temporary, but Pauly Shore is forever.
Yes, it is.
So it was a good time this weekend. Hi, I'm Ramses, by the way. I think you know who I am. But very good time this weekend. Lots of weird stuff in Ed's birthday chat that he personally requested, so you're not going to blame me for it. But
it was, oh my god, I legit barely remember some of the stuff we talked.
if you got to watch Overwatch League this weekend, some really fun games, some pretty boring games. The mercenaries were out in force, and there's about to be some more. And we are still waiting to see what happens with Erster. So there's a decent amount of as far as player movement to talk about. Unfortunately, with how scores kind of have been going, it's hard to really get a good read on everything. We don't really know until Thursday.
Yeah, and that's rather unfortunate too, because there have been some scoring issues that have popped up here recently in Fantasy OWL, and it's kind of been like on the daily side, typically like one day has been missing, but we've also seen some issues with some of the APAC games getting scored, which is really unfortunate because looking back for this past weekend, Draft Buff, I'm fairly confident is completely up to date. Didn't see really any hiccups on that front. Unfortunately, we just cannot say the same for HighNoon.gg, who, I checked like the stats tab earlier, doesn't look like that parsed through. And then, unfortunately, Daily Fantasy also having some issues. So we're kind of like in this weird spot right now where I know recently, the three of us have been playing probably more like Draft Royale than anything. So we've been prioritizing kind of draft buffs. So it doesn't really impact us. But for the people out there that do like to kind of like dip their toes in each of the fantasy offerings, it definitely is a wrench in the plan. So everything's kind of just up in the air right now, and knowing that all of the matches for the May Melee, specifically on like the North America side, haven't been scheduled as of yet due to there still being a
Mhm.
qualifier between the 12th and the 13th ranked team. Chances are, it's going to be a very last minute addition, even just for those quarterfinal matches, where the turnaround between when you're going to be able to submit your lineup before like the game actually starts is going to be so minuscule that I don't
Yeah.
know if there's going to be enough time there for the foul players.
Yeah, it's APAC's probably the only region you can even kind of safely pick because like you were saying, they're gonna play the 12th and 13th seed. Toronto and Vancouver are going to play. And how funny is it? The two losing teams are both Canadian teams, and the two losing teams are going to play each other. And then, from what it sounds like, they're going to draw seeds, and like right afterwards, they're going to get into the rest of the games. So, unless you have a very quick finger and you kind of already know what you're playing, it's going to be really hard to pick North American players for daily stuff this weekend.
Yikes.
Which is a bummer because a lot of these matchups have or potential matchups have a lot of, I think, high scoring potential because we saw that Houston, when they run hydration on the main tank, can actually perform decently well and like get some pretty high scores out of their players. Toronto can score okay, even though they're not a great actual win team. Boston, apparently, when they have people on heroes they're actually decent at, can play very well. Like, a lot of teams have some pretty decent scoring potential this weekend, but we don't know who the heck is going to play who or even when to set lineups.
Right, and it's only made matters worse knowing that there are a lot of players on new teams since our last show. Quite a bit of player movement this week. So just taking a look back, we had a lot of former Vancouver Titans players finding new homes. You had the Seoul Dynasty who added main support Slime, formerly of Vancouver Titans. So, you know, what I like about this is actually the first time we've ever had a Lunatic High player on the same roster as a Runaway player. Unfortunately, they both play the same position because you got Slime and now you have Toby. So I would imagine Slime is probably gonna come in, take over the Lucio duties for the Dynasty, and maybe they'll still keep Toby on like the Baptiste moving forward because he's been doing fairly well on that role in particular. And quick side note, they are doing a show match between some of the old school core rosters of Runaway and Lunatic High coming up at the end of the month as well. So keep an eye on that. So for any like old Apex fans, there's something to kind of like whet the appetite on that front.
Yeah, it's. I'm just gonna weigh in because I'm not gonna. I don't. You know the old adage: if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. The anything is a complete shit show, and it's an embarrassment that we won't know the matches till Friday. It's like they're giving the giant middle finger to all fantasy players, and we're not a huge base, but we're a base, and they're just giving us the middle finger. And also, there's a whole lot of things that we're going to talk about regarding the Asia's mayhem stuff that is just I can't get behind this week. As much as I want to, I can't get behind this week fantasy wise because
The Mayhem play in North America, Ed.
Are we sure?
I mean, things are so chaotic that maybe
like,
everyone's playing in their own region.
100% guarantee me they will.
Can I guarantee they're not actually going to be moving to APAC as soon as this week is over?
Like, there is literally, from what we've seen in the past 2 weeks, there is nothing you could tell me that I was like, they're like, everyone eventually dies. Are you sure?
Well,
Prove it.
maybe the Mayhem are so disoriented by the fact that Florida remains like wide open, and maybe they just want to get the hell out of Dodge and then just go to South Korea. There you go. That's how it happened.
Dude, Well, and speaking of Florida being wide open, Florida robbed of the #1 spot in the May Melee tournament, by the way. We right now they're second. They have the same record as San Francisco, except San Francisco has a tie for one map. They're like 7-1-1, and Mayhem's like 7-1-0. So somehow that puts Shock above Mayhem.
Biased. That's one of
Does it matter?
It doesn't. We were talking about players that were signed up as well. Something that kind of got announced last week and went under the radar was that the league clarified rules that I think a couple we needed to hear about. Number one, the new mandatory roster size is going to be 7. Which we forget that Boston Uprising have Axiom, so they technically do have 7 now.
Until a team only has 6 and they can't sign somebody else.
It's not like there's much.
Tell me I'm wrong on this.
No, you're not wrong. I'm just saying it's not like there's not a lot of riches to pick from in NA contenders right now besides OG, and he's not even of age yet.
There is no NA contenders.
It hurts.
There's Team Doge and then everyone else.
Yeah.
So
not Second Wind. Was it Second Wind that?
Second one got picked up.
And
Half of
Sky
them.
Fox is
Sky
taken up.
Fox is.
Well,
yeah.
that was more of a meme than anything. They didn't actually disband. They just didn't qualify based off the point system. That's what that was.
So we 7-man minimum rosters. The other thing that we got clarification about was that with everything going on, teams are not going to be allowed to sign people to 14-day contracts, where they're going to be able to compete for 2 weeks, and then that's you have a minimum contract you can sign people to now, and people have gone back and forth. I know I was talking with Abasco about this, that it gives teams a chance to kind of trial somebody and see if they're a good fit, and then not have them fully commit into either trying to move in with the team, especially if they're coming in from Korea, or trying to get acquainted in with the team. At the other hand, though, there's a lot of opportunity to just kind of pick somebody up for 2 weeks, use them, and then throw them back out to the wind.
I'm curious to see how the hell are these players getting paid on a 14-day contract? Are they just getting paid based off the amount of maps they're playing, the amount of games they're playing? Is it just going to be a percentage of what the guaranteed minimum is for the season? There's so many unknowns about it still, but it does offer some teams that otherwise would have been in a kind of a bad situation, kind of a way out, so to speak, because we did see the Washington Justice go out and sign Janu and Stitch to one of these 14-day contracts. Now, I've seen a lot of people going back and forth with this, especially more so on the Janu front, primarily because Elivote, he's honestly been one of the more stable pieces out of this Washington Justice core, where a lot of people just didn't really see the off-tank as a red flag on this particular team. But when you really think about it, let's say they left Elivote in there, and then they ran, 5 Koreans, okay? They don't want to be putting themselves in a situation where it's going to hamper their communication. So that's why you saw a full 6-man Korean roster from the Justice this past weekend. But, I have to say, I didn't know whether or not any of the former Titans players would be going to an NA team, primarily because there were a lot of rumors that wouldn't be happening. And then we also heard rumors that, chances are they might not even go to any of the Chinese teams. So, the Slime news going to Dynasty wasn't that much of a surprise, but this one was definitely a surprise for me. Now, that being said, I was not that impressed with the Justice, despite, a couple of new additions, and it's really hard to really have synergy when, players are only going to be there for 2 weeks at minimum, and also, factoring in when these roster moves were announced, because there was a really short turnaround time between the announcement and when they actually played online this weekend.
Yeah. Well, and I assume they were practicing with them through the week, but you're playing on Korea with at least 200 ping, which, by the way, if they could play from Korea, how has Lulsish in this online era not played a single game yet? if we have people playing from Saudi Arabia like KSA and multiple people playing from Jersey to Korea with Fielder and Paris Eternal, how has Lulsish not played a game in the Overwatch League yet?
I got nothing.
I mean, so it has been rumored that his issues are not just visa.
I'm excited to see the Valorant twit longer when it comes out.
Yeah, no, this was. I mean, he's been having a visa issue for over a year now. It's beyond a visa issue. There's no way it's not a visa, like something other than a visa issue, because there's just no. So there's something else there preventing him from coming to the U.S.
As far as the actual matchup goes, Totem, I know you were saying you weren't super impressed. They looked okay. Like Florida just stomped the crap out of them was mostly what it was. I think we were all mostly rooting like, hey, we want Johnny and Stitch specifically to look good so they get another home. Because Johnny, I think you could argue, is probably going to get picked up long term somewhere.
Right.
Stitch is a guy who hasn't gotten a lot of like exposure as much.
Mm-hmm.
So Stitch looked pretty good. His Ash was pretty good, and I think it came down to more to the fact that Boston, like Myunbong and Jerry, were just crapping all over them with the Nade Dynamite combos over and over.
Yeah, so quite a bit of moving parts here. We also learned that Hanju Spark DPS player Bazzi retired from professional Overwatch. And, Spark went out and they signed or acquired one hell of a player in Architect from the San Francisco Shock. Now, the Shock in return are like, all right, that's cool. Well, let's try to deal with our Ana issue on this team. And they went out and they picked up Twilight, formerly of the Vancouver Titans. And I know a lot of people are looking at this and they're like, wait, is that even legal? And, it kind of reminds me of, like, the people wanting that Airster Edison DPS pairing. And now I'm just thinking, like, oh, man, here we go again. We're going to hype this up, and then we're going to be in the situation, God, Twilight better play. Otherwise, we're going to look stupid again.
Yeah. What do you think, Ed?
Twilight better frickin' play.
Well, we've seen Moth play a lot of Zenyatta over the past couple weeks, right?
All right, if they bench Moth, I will forever be like, if they bench Moth, I will tell you this right now, they will be put on the same level as the Houston Outlaws in my opinion.
They do have a gold off tank.
Like, benching Moth would probably be one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in the Overwatch League.
The only
No,
I'm just saying the only way I could see them starting both is if they run, because they've had Moth and Zen for a while, because when they run Violet on the Baptiste. So I think like you have Twilight in on the Ana, and then you switch him out like for Violet when it comes to Baptiste and Zen.
no.
And then I'm not saying it's a great plan. I'm just saying I think it is their plan.
No. I'm telling you right now, you're not doing it. Like, you're just not. So, sorry, but
When it happens this week, can I send you stream clips?
if it happens this week, I will actively root against them as much as I do the Outlaws for that freaking stupidity. Moth is probably, I'll leave it up for debate, but he's top 2 main supports in the Overwatch League.
You could go top 5, top 10 players just in
I'd
general.
say he's best player in NA.
I'm just saying, like, you know what? There's always going to be an argument that at least one other main support will compete with him. So I'm going to say top 2.
Yeah, probably Slime.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So let's just go with that. Are you really going to bench him? No. You're not. If anyone, I bench Twilight for Violet. like, I think Moth has a perma spot on this team, and he should never not be in that game.
So I wonder if this case, Violet would primarily be moving forward as a Zenyatta player, where Moth takes over Bap role in particular, Twilight ends up playing the Ana, and then, on the Spark side, I really like this move by the Spark. They have consistently, since day one in the Overwatch League, have had an issue with the second DPS. Whether it was someone being a problem child on the team, or just never really being a good fit, or just not being flexible enough as the second DPS offering. Now they don't have to rely on Adora or Bozzy. Now they have Architect, who has proven that, he can come in and basically just play whatever. And sure, I know, like, the Shock DPS line was very crowded, but anytime Architect was in the lineup, he did make an impact. So I'm really anxious to see what this is going to mean for the Spark moving forward. Maybe Godsby's fantasy stock might take a little bit of a dive, just because he's not going to be soaking up as much of the final blows as he would have otherwise. But I feel a lot better about the Spark.
I don't know if it will really, because he also has dealt with like the simple fact that he hasn't like had somebody else to play along with.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I mean? Like, and now that he has that that good other DPS, he might actually shine a little bit more than what we expect. So I don't know. I could see him really popping off fantasy wise. Now, granted, we don't know if he's actually going to play.
Architect?
I think he just meant the Spark in general.
The Spark are playing Soul. We know that at least.
Well, okay, we gotta address the elephant in the room here, because basically there is a issue with visas with Gushue.
Yeah. Oh.
And the Spark applied for a 2-week break from competing in Overwatch League matches because Gushue is going to have to go through this 14-day centralized quarantine upon his return to China for his visa renewal. So right now, we have no idea what the plan is. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't go out and sign someone to a 14-day contract. No, it's not going to be Tizzy, guys. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Hey, maybe it might be Fisher. Maybe he'll keep adding more jerseys.
What if it's Bumper?
That's I was just about to say.
It could be. You never know.
You want to bet it's Bumper?
Like, I would imagine if they are going to play, someone's gonna have to get signed to a 14-day contract. If not, like, I would hate to be in a situation where one of the APAC teams doesn't play because of one player. This is a different situation than the entire team moving to a new country and having to do, the 14-day isolation. So it's just like, right now, it's like, I don't know what to think. Like, I like the moves that the Spark have been making, but if they don't play this weekend, it's just like, well, that's even less options for you to look at here.
Coldest on main tank.
Like, they made this, I don't think they're going to get the 2-week break, because they put in specifically a 14-day temporary, contract for this reason.
Mm-hmm.
So they may just come back and be like, you know what? Sucks to be you.
Yep, forfeit the match, and then the Dynasty can go on to face the charge.
Yeah. Or, like, okay, well, you need to sign somebody. Because you're playing.
Note about the charge, be very wary of starting Nero right now, since from what we've been hearing, Nero is going to have to either reapply or just, like, do stuff for his visa, like, in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
And Guangzhou has already started, in order to, like, not have it be a sudden thing they're not ready for, they've started rotating him out of lineups to where it's mostly been Happy and Eileen. So be careful with starting Nero. I think do your research if you can to see if he's actually going to be starting that game. Hopefully he's not gone as long as Neptuno has been.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. Oh God, freaking Yeah, that whole thing is it's just a shit show. Like, don't start Nero, don't start Neptuno, don't start any non-Korean players who are playing over there. Really, at this point, would you trust any of the non-Korean players? Because what happens when like Gu Shui has to go back? What happens when all of Chengdu has to go back?
Chengdu, I think, is just staying in that house and they're not leaving anywhere. Like, I think,
Are they actually staying in China and not in Korea?
I don't think they've ever left. I think they've been in China the whole time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Okay,
they just stayed put.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
I thought
so-
they were all in Korea. That is 100% my mistake.
No, everybody but Chengdu went. I think Chengdu was just, I think, in a city that was already going to be under lockdown to where they couldn't get out.
Yeah, the option just wasn't there for them at the time. But looking at the charge, they did manage to secure the first seed in the APAC part of the Melee tournament. And, you know, for now, all that we know for certain is we do have what matches we will be getting. That's assuming the Spark play for the quarterfinals of this tournament that happens over the course of the weekend. So looking at the matches, we have the Hanzhou Spark, maybe, if they play, versus the Seoul Dynasty, and then the winner would go on to face the top seed in tournament, again, that being the Guangzhou Charge. That is followed by the New York Excelsior going up against the Chengdu Hunters, and then we have the Shanghai Dragons facing the London Spitfire. So I have to say, guys, like, Seoul, you know, they had that big win against Shanghai, but they've not done good elsewhere. You know, I think they've only won like one in their last 5 matches. They're definitely on a downward trend right now, and there seems to be this disconnect going on with the Dynasty when it comes to what this team actually wants to play character-wise versus who's good on those characters that are actually in the game at that given time, because they keep wanting to run this double barrier, and it hasn't really been working that great. And, you know, Prophet seems to just, like, not want to really play the Echo, so it's just like, well, he's good on other things. Stop trying to force it if you guys are constantly, like, a step behind. So, you know, even if this match happens, I'm not feeling very confident in the Dynasty's chances in this one.
I just don't know what is going on with the Dynasty.
Shades of London Spitfire Season 2.
Like, I just don't get it. And I don't think I ever will, but that's just me. They have all the talent in the freaking world, and they're not doing a thing with it.
To me, it comes across that we make, like, I joke with the London comparison, but it feels apt because it seems a lot less like they have any set. Like, you know how most teams are really comfortable playing dive or goats, where like they can just auto dive and they can just like, all right, well, we're crap at everything else, but we can like kind of barely pull off dive. Like, Seoul to me seems the same way with double shield, which is ridiculous because we know the amount of talent they have on that team. But it looks like everybody is just trying to make hero plays the entire time. Like, Prophet's trying to do everything, Jester's diving anything that moves, and then the team just does not look in sync. They don't they don't look coordinated at all. Which we saw if you play against a hyper coordinated team like Shanghai, or even like a pretty well coordinated team, like well, I don't want to say Chengdu, but like some of the other Chinese teams, the coordination's gonna beat you to death if you're not ready for it.
Right,
Yeah.
and, you know, it's just unfortunate because, you know, last season we had a lot of issues where they kept, like, swapping between 2 different lineups. Now they have more of a set lineup, but not really a set strat to kind of rely on or even fall back on at this point. So it just feels like the dimensions just haven't quite been there this season for the Dynasty, despite them, you know, having some big match wins against, you know, who is really the top team in that particular region. But, you know, they're just not able to find the answers here as of yet. Now, I do want to note that for this Melee, there are no hero pool restrictions. So, you know, you can play whoever. No one is banned from playing in the tournament. So we'll see what sort of effects that's going to have on what team compositions we're going to be seeing. But, you know, just judging by how things have been, we're probably either going to have a lot of like those May Reaper or like May McCree compositions, or maybe we'll continue to see this uptick in Dive being at the forefront. But is there anything like composition wise that you guys want to see from this tournament, whether it's region specific or not?
Ooh,
Goats.
no. Yeah, you know, are they playing on the new patch?
I think there was like a 2-week turnaround on that for like
Okay, so
patching into the
they're
league.
they're not putting in the new Bastion or Junkrat or any of the healing changes
No, that would be a few weeks.
that
out.
went live today.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say I'd love to see Junkrat because how long is it? We've never seen Junkrat be part of the meta.
I think Chengdu played him for Anubis this last week. That was it.
Yeah, like we've never in 3 seasons Junkrat has never been part of the meta.
Yeah, unless it was just like Kane's Row defense point A.
Yeah, it would
Like
get
it's
played.
very specific. Only like one portion of a map, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
Mhm.
like, all right, whatever. But yeah, it's. I'd like to see Junkrat. We're not gonna see Junkrat. Let's. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat that.
Mhm.
But I would like to see Pharah. I'd like to see more Echo. I think Echo is fun to have around. I'm not gonna say Echo. Like this is one of the things that I think I saw it on. Um, I saw it on Twitter, and it was the dev team doesn't get all the respect in the world that they came out with a new character, balanced, and fun, and relevant
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, all while working from home.
Yeah, usually it's one of the three.
Like they did all of this while working at home. Like that's actually really impressive.
And even if you want to there are people who are going to be like, Echo was super broken, like right out of Elise. She got balanced really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she was not broken when she.
She wasn't. She wasn't. But I'm saying for people who will make that argument, because there are always people like, and even then, I know people have gotten very frustrated because they've talked about them being much quicker about balancing. Granted, Overwatch, I mean, we talked to Jaw, like, and a couple other people, like, Overwatch gets balanced much more frequently than a lot of other games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only thing it doesn't get, like created more of or balanced more of is I think Fortnite would be the only one.
Well, yeah. Well, they patch weekly, so that's
Yeah,
a
like,
little different.
but that's what I'm saying is like
Mhm.
Fortnite patches weekly.
I was gonna say, as far as what metas to expect, I know that before we had Metalox, we were seeing a lot of the McCree May Diva Rhine. I don't know. Do you guys think that Echo's gonna be like a pretty big deterrence against that?
She could be. It's like that's the thing is we don't know what truly she counters.
Mm-hmm.
Because like it's one of those things where we haven't seen her go up against an actual comp.
Well, I feel
So-
like it's more the case that Echo just fits into everything, so I don't know if she technically does counter anything, because when you think about it, more times than not, when you're talking about direct counters, a lot of people just assume that it's going to be a mirrored composition, so I guess you could say she counters nothing and everything.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I'm super down to not have to watch. To not have to see Reaper May for a bunch of it. I think Echo is going to be good enough as far as combating that. And we've seen a lot of dive, but I think we've seen dive in areas where like May's been out, or like where Orissa's been out, where Brig's been out. Like situations where those stun heavy heroes are gone. With all of them back in and with Echo back in, I would not be surprised if we just see people go back to the stun heavy meta again, because that's what they were used to playing and they know it works.
Yeah, Yeah, and sadly, you're probably right. But I want to see things other than that.
So
Like, I just do.
looking at these other Asia matches, so we got Excelsior and the Hunters. I want to say Excelsior took the last meet 3-1. I'm trying to remember if there was a match before that this year between those two teams. But the Hunters, I feel like I think Seoul has kind of overtaken them as like the odd man out when it comes to like the region, particularly in the rankings. So I don't know if that's gonna like breathe new life into this team, but going in, I'm sure a lot of people are still going to peg Excelsior and the Dragons as the most likeliest teams out of this region to take the APAC melee. But London's been a team that has been kind of like all over the place. They've been fairly middle in. So, like, do you see any sort of like upset potential here, either from the Hunters or the Spitfire in these other matches here?
I'm trying to point to Ed with my. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. No, I truly don't. I just don't. It's the Hunters have not looked good.
Mm-hmm.
I can see a world. You go.
No. Go ahead.
I could see a world in which Chengdu pulls off an upset just because Leave is that good on Echo, because Leave's that good at everything. But that would be a pretty Herculean like effort out of there. I think it's pretty safe to say that New York takes that game, and as long as Hangzhou are playing, I'm pretty sure Hangzhou beats Seoul. Shanghai, and then Shanghai is too strong. I don't see London being able to pull it off against Shanghai. I think Shanghai wins this whole tournament, to be honest.
Yeah, last time we saw Shanghai going up against the Spitfires, a pretty quick series. Like, they took both rounds on Oasis. Temple of Anubis they took. It was a 3-0. And London wasn't even able to complete their attack on Watchpoint Gibraltar. Pretty sure that was, like, one of those series that was, like, around an hour, if that. So I'm assuming it will probably be another speed run in that case. Now, looking at the NA side, obviously we don't know what all the matches are going to be. We will have like the higher seeds getting to choose their opponents, but leading up to this, we do have that qualifier between the Toronto Defiant and the Vancouver Titans. So Titans obviously still rocking that half and half roster of Second Wind mixed with other contenders EU talent. Dalton this past week got focused hard. We did not.
Oh boy.
We did not see the same heroics that we saw when he was on Echo when he was playing other characters this past week, since couldn't get played or on Tracer in that case. But it's still an interesting case with Defiant haven't really looked all that strong either. But you would have to think with the amount of reps that this team has collectively, throughout the entirety of the season, that's still probably going to be enough to outweigh what the Titans do. But knowing that, we don't have those hero pool restrictions, will the Dalton Tracer be enough to really, like, uplift this team when their backs are up against the wall here? You're muted, Ed.
Edward.
Yeah, I know. I want to say yes, but no. Just no. I don't see it being the case. I like Dalton. I like actually what they're doing. I just don't think it's actually gonna. Not yet. It could once they get them all working in the same house, and everyone's kind of played together for a good amount of time. But right now, they're just not. They're not there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I will say the community turnaround when it comes to like reactions after a game definitely took a much harder turn after this past weekend. compared to like what we saw following like their Overwatch League debut. The comments got pretty nasty.
Yeah, people have turned hard. Which,
Are you saying that people got nasty in the Overwatch League?
Well, I'm just saying, like, after the debut, it was still fairly positive. But, 2 weeks in, drastic turnaround there.
Yeah. It's
Well,
the
and
Overwatch community.
it goes back and forth because on one hand, like these are fresh new players who I think are playing for an org that is like the org deserves to get crapped on, and like they're gonna take a lot of crap just for playing for the Vancouver Titans. At the same time, though, like this is the Overwatch League. Like they're not, you don't get a free pass because you're a bunch of guys who just came out of contenders. Like you don't get a free, like we're not gonna be mean to, like being mean's one thing, but like you're not gonna get like a free sympathy pass just because you're the new Vancouver Titans. Like you're in the league. Sorry. If I know I was very, I think I went on my own show and said like I was very worried that Vancouver was going to take the game against Houston this last week. And if Houston can beat Vancouver with a deep, anybody can beat Vancouver, I think. I know I think the Dusk initially was like, no, like they're going to get a couple wins here and there. I could see a world in which they don't, where they just finish the season without any more wins.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, imagine, we're in a situation now where Boston isn't one of the bottom seeds in NA. Like, we've come that far. And it's only because of Punk.
Right?
Yeah, Punk was awesome.
Punk,
oh my gosh.
Punk stats, I was looking on Draft Buff, and I think he posted like 130 points. I was like, damn, that's actually pretty good. I don't know like what his cost was. Ramses, I think you actually played him. Or one of us did.
I did too. Because like it was one of those unknown tanks that you're just like,
Yeah, I think when I looked, he got in draft buff, it was like over 130 points.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's decent.
Yeah, 130.33.
Yeah,
which on your Royale team was actually the top score by like 50 plus.
To be an Ednar about this, he did play 6 maps.
You do have to take that into account.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't see. I would probably I want to see Boston play in this May tournament first before I give any more designations as like him consistently scoring high. Because we said the same thing about Jerry, right? Like Jerry came out in a 7-out series and got almost 200 points. We were like, holy crap, we got to play Jerry every week. And then Jerry's been pretty quiet.
Oh, poor
Jerry's gonna get a home somewhere next year, probably on Houston once Linkser retires for Valorant. Like,
how is he not already retired?
Because he's getting paid, and I think.
And Sinatraa wasn't.
You know what? As time goes on, I actually find myself more and more acquiescing to Bob's opinion of this whole thing because Sinatra's not even.
No, you're wrong.
Sinatra's not even Valorant rank yet. Like he's still like. You talk with people, he doesn't even look like the best player on his own team. Anyway, Link's for sure gone. We know AKM and Unko are gone because they won't stop talking about it. Like, at least, hey, the Lynx are playing Valorant so much means his aim has gotten a lot better, which we were happy to take advantage of against Vancouver this weekend.
Well, okay.
Not saying much.
Let's not go too far because it's not like Linkser was under a ton of pressure by anyone on that lineup. So, if you just have free reign, just chilling in the back at all times on a high ground, of course, you should be able to land your shots in that sort of situation.
He would just sit up there and then just one support, one DPS. And Shredlock would be like, oh crap, I probably should have dived him like a minute ago. And then Dante would come in, just cluster bomb everybody and kill everyone.
Yeah. So we'll see. So for now, we're taking the wait and see approach with Punk. We'll see if he has another solid outing this weekend during the May Melee. But right now we basically have to look forward to Friday with this Defiant Titan series. And then we'll see what the hell the damn matches are actually going to be. But when you're looking at the seeds, with the higher seeds getting to choose, looking at the top seeds, you had the Shock, who got the top seed, Mayhem at second seed, Fusion at the 3 seed, Valiant got fourth, Eternal at 5, and Rain at 6. So that's your top 6 in that retrospect. But knowing that Mayhem got such a high seed, I want to feel great for them, but then you look at the teams that they were beaten at the time, and it's like, okay, they got, a couple of wins against, like, Washington, Boston, and it's just
Who beat the
like...
Gladiators? I mean, Boston.
Yeah, I mean, that is true, and the Gladiators didn't even finish in the top 6, which, doesn't really stay true to their identity as a team, just based off of what we've seen from them basically every season so far. But looking at just the NA side, if we're looking at potential dark horses, so I'm talking about teams that are in the bottom 6, is there anyone in particular that really stands out that you guys feel like could make a run in this tournament? That says it all, Ed.
Yeah. No. Seriously. Just we'll go with no on that.
The only one that I could like maybe buy is if somehow Fuel gets everything to click. That's a big somehow. I actually think I am reasonably confident in Paris being able to win the whole thing.
My money's still on the Fusion.
Who Paris have beaten?
Still on the Fusion.
I mean, understandable.
And, just speaking of Paris really quick, just as a reminder, we are nearing Sparkle playtime, because he does turn 18 the very last day of the month. So, if you are, doing, like, season-long leagues, if he's a free agent, I would highly recommend you guys go pick him up, regardless of what platform it is, because chances are, if you wait, he probably won't be available. But, I'm really curious to see how Paris is going to level up once Sparkle does come in, when we start to see, like, that big picture. I'm sure Xe will, magically be 100% by the time Sparkle is back, and then it will, just be all wheels rolling at that given point in time. But, unfortunately, like, with everything kind of just being up in the air right now, we're probably just stick to Draft Royale this week in regards to, like, what platform we're using. But, like, for things like pick'ems, for, like, the daily leagues, it's going to be a little wonky this week in particular, just due to the way that this tournament is structured. So you might not have a ton of reaction time in order to set your lineup or to make your selections for, like, the league pick'ems or anything like that, which is rather unfortunate. But, I would say, like, if you're looking to play this weekend, Draft Royale is probably going to be your best bet, because it doesn't rely on set matches being, on the schedule and, in the system.
Yeah, this whole weekend is kind of shot, but Draft Buff is probably a good way to go, just because fantasy OWL, you just don't know what's going to be happening with Friday. I mean, you can't even do pick'ems at high noon. It's just not gonna work that way.
Yeah, like, the only thing that would be up at this point in time would just be the quarterfinals for like APAC, and then, like, that qualifier match, basically.
Yeah, that's basically it.
But, in that case too, like, if people are going to just, like, leave it for the week, there is still that potential that you could make up a little bit of ground if you do fill out, even if it's just that little bit there.
Yeah, you could if you go big, like the go big or go home strategy of it. I could see that working. I just haven't been around to it in a long time.
Yeah.
Just because, well, there was such a long time that we just didn't know what was happening.
Yes.
and we didn't even know what matches were being played like a week beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And that just irks me so much that they basically just looked a gift horse in the mouth, and we're just like, you know what? No, screw it, we're good.
Yeah, now it's like we have this tournament, and then I don't think they've released like week 17 or whatever week follows this.
No, they haven't.
So hopefully it won't be a situation where we're waiting on that again. Hopefully they'll have like the first 2 weeks or whatever scheduled and just released during the tournament for, you know, Watchpoint or whatever on that front. But there is going to be a lot of Overwatch over the weekend due to the Melee. I got a lot of stuff going on this weekend. I'm going to at least try to catch like the finals for each region just so I can kind of have somewhat of an idea of what the hell is going on. But
It's going to be hard.
I'm going
but
to have my hands full one way or the other.
Yeah. I'm probably going to watch a good chunk of it. But, yeah, not going to go too crazy. Because I do have things going on this weekend. It is Memorial Weekend. And I know, like, that like, we have the stay-at-home stuff. But I'm still, I mean, you know what? I'm going to be bad. I'm going to hang out with my sister and my brother-in-law.
How selfish of you,
Oh
Ednar.
my
How
God.
selfish!
I know.
In a state that's already been completely opened, Ednar. How selfish!
Yeah, next scene, you're going to tell me that you're going to be out grilling and drinking beer.
He can grill from his own house with his family. That's fine.
Yeah. I
He's
mean,
not going-
it's not like we got opened up with no restrictions whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait.
Oh wait, that did happen.
No, Totem. Ed actually told me he's gonna go take his grill and he's gonna go to a Wisconsin bar and he's gonna sit in the middle of the bar and grill.
I wouldn't be surprised if people actually did that. Like, it's Wisconsin.
I wouldn't put it past someone from Wisconsin, to be honest.
Although I will say this, the most screwed up people are the ones from Illinois.
Yeah.
Because they're all taking, like, they're, like, traveling to Wisconsin
For beer.
to go to bars.
Oh, dude.
And, like, they're interviewing people, and they're like, yeah, no, we're going to Wisconsin this week. I'm like, oh, for shit's sake.
Yeah, people are that antsy to just get out and about. But anyways, you know, stay tuned for the Melee this weekend. And, you know, hopefully some formats will be smooth running this week, but definitely be on your toes for late editions in that regard. But that will do it for us here tonight. So let's go ahead and wrap up the show. So if you guys want to help us out, please do us a favor and head on over to iTunes. Regardless of whether or not Ed will try to harass you to send us reviews, we will read them live on the show. And Ed, it did not work, by the way. I don't know if you saw the last show, but anyways, we're always
You mean
looking.
my threat to Tanya Harding people
Nope.
did not work?
It did not work. Not vicious enough, so you feel it on that regard. But anyways, we are always looking for ways to improve the show to make for a better listening experience for you guys. So, you know, any help there would be greatly appreciated. As for Overwatch Recall, I'm behind. Like, I'm just shelving it for now until I can get, like, a mass update. So I'll probably just start with the directory first. And then I'll probably just do, like, a recall that has, like, the last 2 episodes for each show. And then I could get back on track with that. So that should be back relatively soon on that front. But Ramses, why don't you go ahead and let our listeners know how they can directly support us?
For sure. If you want to help us out with some additional support for the network, the best way you can do that is to pledge with our Patreon. Tiers start at just $1 a month, and we have a bunch of really great stuff in there, and it helps keep the lights on, keeps everything working out here, pays the costs. And that's at patreon.com/OWL network. And if you join, you too can join the ranks of our master and above patrons like Daniel, Owl, Kesha, Agent Life, and 044 in helping our network grow.
Yeah, and if you need any further proof that it's actually working, I mean, just look at Ramses' camera. He's not in the abyss.
I can turn lights on.
He's been so good at it lately. I'm proud of him.
Oh, thanks, guys.
But Ed, why don't you go ahead and let them know how they can contact us?
All right, so you can reach us through email at contact@owlnshow.com. We are on Twitter, and that's at OWL by the numbers. We do have a website where we post most of our stuff, and that's at owlnshow.com. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/Overwatch League Network. We do have a Discord, and that's at discord.me/OWShow. And then we also are streaming presently live on Twitch at twitch.tv/OWLNshow. We are Twitch affiliates, so come help support the show by subscribing to our channel and earn our network emoticon. Our podcast network does stream pretty regularly. So on Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific, we have the Watch League Network. On Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific with this show, OWL by the Numbers. On Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, we have Heroes Die, which is Totem and I's variety Overwatch show. And then on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, we have Tales, which is a Hearthstone Battlegrounds podcast Totem and I do. And that's streamed over at twitch.tv/TavernTalesHS. You can reach me personally on Twitter at Ednar83, or you can see me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Ednar. Totem, where can they find you at?
Well, you can find me over on Twitter at TerminallyDrunkCTR. And when I'm on Twitch, it is at twitch.tv/TerminallyDrunk. Boomer Bob, who is not here, can of course also be found on Twitter. That is at Blazin. That is BLAZZIN_BOB. And, just keep poking fun at him being a boomer, because I know he greatly enjoys that each and every week. Ramses, where can they find you?
You can find me at Ramses_OW, and you can find the show I do for Overwatch League at Push the Point at PushPointPod.
All right, sounds good. So with that being said, guys, I do want to thank you again for joining us tonight on another episode of OWL by the Numbers. You've been listening to episode number 48. I've been your host, Totally Drunk, joined this week by Edinar and, of course, Ramses, and we will see you guys back next week. You guys take care and enjoy the May Melee.
Peace.
Boy.